I'm originally from Birmingham in the UK. Now I'm here in Longyan in Fujian province. Our primary focus is going to be single malt whiskey. How much are we investing in this project? It's going to be about 100 million RMB.
You're quite rich.
It's not me. It's everybody else's money. I'm just here for the fun. My name's Jay Robertson.
And I'm the CEO of Nine Rivers Distillery.
I'm essentially leading the construction in what will be China's biggest single malt whiskey distillery.
Our project has investors from 29 different countries.
I'm here because I'm part of a team that came to the conclusion that it was about time that China put itself on the world whiskey map. The real action started just after Chinese New Year last year in 2023. So pretty much everything you see, that's all happened within the last 11 months. The initial land parcel for the first 4 buildings is about 17,300 square meters. We're currently trying to secure another 120 new. That will be for the 16 additional cask maturation warehouses.
What's the biggest difference, like you think your whiskey with others' whiskey?
You know, that's kind of a tricky thing to answer at the moment, because obviously, as we would say in English, the proof is in the pudding. So until we've actually got whiskey that we've made, it's very difficult for us to start making comparisons with other products. So we're not producing at the moment, but right now the focus is on basically the buildings and the infrastructure that we need in order to craft whiskey. So when is the roof finished now? This is obviously all the roof panels.
This week.
This week, good.
This week.
Good. Now you're speaking English, good man, good man. When we're at full capacity with all 4 buildings, our capacity will be about 7.5 million LPA, which will be probably about 17 million bottles a year. This is the 10 move for the cooperage. What we plan to do is we plan to make 100,000 barrels a year, because it's the barrel that's responsible for 60 and 70% of the aroma and the flavour of whiskey. So that's where we see our priorities. There are rumours that will be a whiskey bar. Don't tell anyone. This is basically a wall dedicated to all the people that have supported our project. That's me. As a visitor experience, you can look in and see everything that's happening in this part of the factory. So this will be the mashing and the fermentation. Be very careful, it's 8 meters down, because milling grain is explosive. Flour can be flammable, so we have a little section within this ground floor that has 1 meter thick concrete walls to protect it in case there was an explosion from the flour. In the West, you would need dust extractors, so extract the flammable dust. But in China, you have the dust extractors and you need that area to be self-contained. So if there was an explosion, it wouldn't affect anything else. This whole concept in the West that everything in China is made of tofu, it's complete nonsense. The standards here are really, really, really off the chart. So this is in this basement level. We have 1.8 million litres of water stored underground. So we have sprinkler systems on every floor of every building. During the first 30 minutes, we've got to put out about 547 litres a second to absolutely flood the place, and then fight fire for another 3 hours. In terms of the hardware, the pumps, the amount of water that we have stored, the diameter of the pipes, it's the biggest installation in all of Longyan. It's an absolute must for China, because if we don't get sign-off from the fire department, we'll never get a license to be able to produce. But we understand why they're in place, so obviously we've done everything we can to ensure that we satisfy them. Going back to this whole misbelief in the West that the standards for things like construction, environment and fire prevention are very low in China, utter nonsense. There's all these extra people here today. Normally this is just a walkway. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like all the local farmers are here. 2 of these. There we go. This lady's here every day of the week, so that's why I've just got into the habit of always coming here and buying my vegetables here. They grow their own produce in the local area. Thank you. June.
6月份
6月份
明年6月份
对对对。
跟他讲，我有个儿子在那个上班，要被招人。It's a son.
A son.
Looking for.
Tell him to give his CV to you. The town has changed towards me over the last couple of years. Initially, all I would hear is Lawai, 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 you know, being the only foreigner here. But I don't hear it anymore. They're just used to me. It's just that guy. Cool. This is literally the very first whiskey night that we ever had.
Wow.
This is up here in Shenzhen. It was at a little backstreet bar in Fujian. It's literally every time we had a whiskey night and people are having whiskeys and, you know, having a few drinks, and then you get a bit kind of, I don't know, optimistic. You get a bit kind of starry-eyed. Couldn't we do this better? You know, none of us had made whiskey before, none of us had worked for a distillery. 266 or 267 different people that have all invested in this project to bring us to where we are today. Why did we come to Longyan? We visited pretty much every province in China, but it was just, something just felt right from the minute we got off the train. So this is kind of Dacha town. We're here. So with Google Earth, you can actually come down and take 3D views of the land and the terrain and start to see the mountains as they lie in a circle. Then it's kind of logical that there's going to be water runoff from the rain hitting those mountains and then collecting within that central basin. And there's enough of it that we need. So one of the very first things we did was started taking water samples and sending them off to laboratories to get them tested. So we tested for all of that, and we're happy to say that the water that we have around here is absolutely spotless clean. It's perfect. But in the same instance, we're not looking at this as an unlimited supply of water that we can just use and abuse. We're obviously going to reuse and recycle as much of the water as we possibly can. So for example, water is mostly used in cooling within the distillation process. So we'll have that on a closed loop circuit and use chillers so that we're not just constantly using as much water as we can get our hands on. You know, we have to be responsible for the resources that we're blessed with. The government have what's called environmental impact reports. So before we're even given the permission to design our distillery or architect our distillery, we have to go through a process where we identify every potential impact that we could have with the environment and how we can reduce that to the minimum or mitigate it or just not have it at all. So this is one of the many processes that we went through before we got the permission to actually start construction. So one of the things I say to people, and they don't get it, what is the name of this country? It's the People's Republic of China. And when you start looking at all of the standards around building, construction, health, safety, food, etc., it's always about putting the people first.